I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. Ah! It begins!
Reach on planet C. Empire aggression, republic decree. Powers go from every inch, south to north. New set of boss war machines march on forth. Black iron legs and blood red metal forms. Cybernetic mammoths cause polar storms. Armed for war, they stomp on snow for empire. The wicked and cold Twinhorns now conspire. Twinhorn, mammoths of blood red steel. Twinhorn, trumpet lows, idle more zeal. Twinhorn, flames spew from their metallic drums. Twinhorn, razor sharp dusty metal clumps. Spicy polar winds blow at planet C poles. heaven and will soon be ours. Then planet C will rule amongst the stars. Twinhorn will cease to need plus victory, and none under us will ever be free. Twinhorn, now never the blood red steel. Twinhorn, something outside war zeal. Twinhorn, slaves spewed from their metallic drums. Twinhorn, razor sharp dust is metal clumps. Twinhorn, now never the blood red steel. Twinhorn, something loud with cyber war zeal. Twinhorn, slaves spewed from their metallic drums. Twinhorn, razor sharp dust is metal clumps. Zoidstar. Memories of black Zoid carnage still not far. Red Horn takes his red Zoid army and leads, but demands from red scavenger new breeds. Whoa, whoa. Fight the blue guardians, Red Horn says. Give me graves of red Zoids to end their days. Make their steel bodies red and filled with hate, so I might march on the blue Zoids mate. Twinhorn, cybernetic mammoth fighters. Twinhorn, rubber metal body breakers. Twinhorn, loyal to Red Horn, they will fight. So I might march on the blue Zoids mate. Zoid might. Whoa, whoa. Scavenger does as Red Horn commands. Built for him new red Zoids with his hands. Forged a mammoth shape, the Twinhorns now arise. With seething hatred in their cyber eyes. Whoa, whoa. Zoid army restored, Red Horn says. This marks the beginning and end of days. With these new red mutants, we will crush all. Mighty Zoidzilla and Clock will both fall. Twinhorn, cybernetic mammoth fighters. Twinhorn, rubber metal body blighters. Twinhorn, loyal to Red Horn, they will fight. Through our might, march on the blue Zoids with Zoid might. Whoa, whoa. Red Horn sends the Twinhorns to the Arctic North. Icy cold lands through which they cut a swat. Dispatching blue Zoids with steel trunk and tusks. The red Zoid mammoths lead them burn down husks. Twinhorn, cybernetic mammoth fighters. Twinhorn, rubber metal body blighters. Twinhorn, loyal to Red Horn, they will fight. Through the night, march on the blue Zoids with Zoid might. Whoa, whoa. Cybernetic mammoth fighters. Rubber metal body blighters. Loyal to Red Horn, they will fight. Through the night, march on the blue Zoids with Zoid might.
It is the never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
I, the Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.